Hi.
Hello. Oh my God, it's so good to see you.
Oh, you too.
I love the gilded bed
Oh
frame.
my God, isn't it
It's
amazing?
amazing.
It's actually a an old sled.
Oh, no way. And the stuffed animals.
Oh yeah, the family is gathered.
Yay. Thanks for joining me on this
Of course.
podcast.
My pleasure.
Brittany Newell, I'm thrilled by your novel Softcore. The longing, the candor, the mysterious disappearance of Ruth's older ex boyfriend,
Yeah.
Dino. We'll get into why your second novel, Softcore, is amazing and more. In the next 5 segments, we'll chat about how you've built a creative practice. We'll play a story game with a sentence submitted by a reader of the Books and Banter newsletter. And finally, you'll tell us the 3 books you'd save in a fire. I can't.
Ooh,
I can't wait to brighten our minds together today. How about you?
same. Right back at ya.
So, Brittany Newell is a writer and performer living in San Francisco. Her debut novel, Ula, was published in 2017 at the age of 21. And her second novel, Softcore, was published this year in February 2025. She's written for many publications, including a regular column on gender and sexuality for Days Digital.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything?
No, that sounds right. Yeah.
So, my first question is, how's the weather in San Francisco today?
Okay, it's like weirdly humid.
Yeah.
Yeah, which not used to that. Yeah,
Mm.
it's very gray and overcast and warm and muggy.
Yes, I am right over the bridge from you in Oakland,
Yeah,
and as soon as you said muggy, I was like, "Oh, it."
you
I
felt
my
it.
my skin
Yeah.
is just damp.
Yeah, that's why I'm like dewy right now. So
I
I'm
know,
glowing.
beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
not a cosmetic decision. It's my body betraying me.
Let's get into our first segment. The first segment is called "Novel of the Moment."
Okay.
Softcore is the novel of the moment.
Oh,
In this segment, we'll get deeper into your novel, Softcore, and why I think it's so fresh and timely.
thanks. I'm curious.
First, can you tell us the premise of your novel, Softcore?
Yeah, so Softcore is at heart a love story, and it follows our protagonist Ruth, who is 27, kind of aimless in her life, and she starts working at a strip club. And like a few months after she starts working there, she comes home to find out that her ex-boyfriend Dino, who she's been living with in his like outer mission Victorian, has disappeared. And this is sort of like the inciting incident into Ruth's gradual unraveling as she tries to understand what happened to him, if he went away, if he didn't. And she has to reckon with all of these sort of like shadowy characters from her past that come out of the woodwork, including like former sugar daddy, this new girl at the strip club who she forms this parasocial sort of increasingly unhinged relationship with, and subs and clients and Johns that come back to haunt her as she tries to make her way back to Dino.
Yes, I was just reliving reading the story. I was like, yes, it was so good the whole
Yeah,
time.
thank you.
I feel like you touched on a lot of things that really make the story exciting to read. I also loved, obviously, the sadder parts as well, like her exploration of grief, like losing her father when she was younger.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like having to go through that again after losing Dino, and that
Yeah.
really moved me a lot. So on grief, to start with the most fun,
Yeah, let's start with a bang.
the most fun thing.
Yeah.
I felt the undercurrent of this grief she feels has also to do with her question on whether she's loved.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear more about your exploration of that, of the connection between love and grief in your story.
Yeah. I mean, I think like when I say that softcore is a love story, it is a sort of unconventional, wayward love story. And it explores all these different sort of non-normative intimacies that define Ruth's life. So we have like the intimacies of her relationship with this former sugar daddy and the intimacy that she feels with the city. Like I think she definitely has like a romantic relationship with San Francisco. A lot of the like intimacies that she formed, the life-sustaining intimacies that she forms with her like female friends, like Mistress Ophelia, who's like a dominatrix who comes into play in the latter half of the book. And there is a lot, obviously, about her relationship with her ex-boyfriend Dino. And I think what we come to realize through her sort of reflecting on their relationship and why it didn't work out is because she felt unlovable or
Mm.
didn't have like faith in her lovability. And so over the
Mm.
course of the novel, as we follow her like zigzaggy path, you know, towards finding him and her like journey back to him, what ultimately happens is she learns piece by piece and, you know, moment to moment like more about her lovability. And I don't want to like
Mm.
spoil it, but there's like a very tense and charged scene that happens like in the denouement where she has, let's just call it like an interaction with her ex sugar daddy who came back into her life, and she becomes sort of fixated on him as sort of like as a representation of care and nurturance that she never received. And she has this very specific, super intense interaction with him that makes her sort of, she almost like cosplays as someone lovable and goes through the
Mm.
motions of being lovable and play acts being loved by him, and going through the motions of it. I think finally in this like last half of the, or last like few scenes of the book, unlocks something in her brain and makes her suddenly feel like more able to be loved, maybe not
Mm.
entirely able to be loved, but it opens her up. And so again, not spoiling it, in her future interactions with a person who may or may not be Dino,
Mm.
something has shifted and the grief has transmogrified into something new. And maybe now she's like ready to be loved and she's ready to accept love from this person that could be Dino, and it's them falling in love all over again. When I started writing the book, I didn't go in with like a plan. It was like a very emergent, like exhilarating, like organic writing process of just sitting down and being like, oh shit, like where are we going to go today? But the one guiding thought was this idea of like, what would it be like to fall in love all over again,
Mm.
within a relationship, like with the same
Mhm.
person? Because that's something that no one gets to do. The grief of losing Dino clarifies to her like what he actually meant to her, because at the beginning
Yeah.
they are broken up but still living together, and they have like, you know, like a good relationship. There's definitely still obviously like a lot of care and ease between them, but the grief of losing him and not understanding what happened or where he's going or if he'll ever come back awakens maybe the parts of her that were like afraid to depend on him.
Yes. Oh, totally. That's amazing to hear more about. You mentioned how in the second half of the book, Ruth starts working at a BDSM dungeon.
Yeah,
And I loved this part of the story because we get to see more intimate scenes of Ruth at work, and to me I felt like she was kind of an anthropologist, and
definitely. I like that.
yeah, so we get to see like humanity through a lens that isn't really represented that often. I felt like Ruth was kind of holding these secrets for these men who were coming to express themselves in ways that, like, in a heteronormative world, they're not
Yeah.
really able to express their sexuality.
Yeah.
And I would just love to hear more about how you approached representing those nuances.
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess like when I said there was only one like guiding idea when I went into writing
Mm.
softcore, I guess there were two. And the second one was that I wanted Ruth, whatever happened to her throughout the narrative, I wanted her to eventually start working at a dungeon so that I would have like, so that the novel could be like a vessel for my dungeon stories, because
Mhm.
I had tried to write about them like in like, like memoirs and nonfiction. And for some reason, it just never felt like it was hitting properly. And there was just like so much there, like what you're saying, like
Mhm.
I feel like I just had so many funny, but also sad, but also endearing, but also like charming, but also like poignant, but also absurd stories about
Mhm.
desire and the
Mhm.
like myriad different shapes that desire takes from my time like working at Fantasy Makers in El Cerrito, which is what the
Mhm.
is the name of the dungeon that Dream House in the novel is modeled after. Like anyone who's worked at
Mhm.
Fantasy Makers as a Bay Area dominatrix will recognize immediately
Oh, cool.
yeah, that's what Dream House is modeled after. Yeah, I think it is true, like that Ruth and any sex worker like becomes like an anthropologist because you're in this, or also like a therapist, because
Mm.
you're in this like insanely unique role where you're both strangers to each other and you're both acting out, these personas. So there's this element of artifice and like distance, but at the same time, you are being told things by this stranger that he oftentimes hasn't told anyone, or
Mhm.
certainly hasn't even told like, the closest people in his life.
Right.
So there's like this tension between like knowing and not knowing. I guess it's you might say like an epistemological tension of like you know nothing like relevant or important about this
Mm.
person, but you are learning something about him that is like deep and fundamental and speaks to, I mean, it depends, but it can speak to his inner world, I guess. Like it speaks
Mhm.
to his like most, and I say he because like, I mean, I've worked as a pro dom since 2019, and like I think I've had like a one like female client.
Mhm.
All of them have been, I guess I saw a couple ones. But yeah, so then there's it's something about masculinity, right? Like
Yeah.
this need that men have to like pay like someone that they perceive to be like soft in the right ways but hard in the
Mhm.
right ways, to be like the keeper of their secrets. I mean, I
Mm.
guess it's like about like a witness. I think they
Mhm.
are paying you to like witness something in and about them. And it's like, like it's very like emotionally taxing work as the, recipient of these secrets. And it always felt like I always felt really like honored, I guess, in a way to like be entrusted with these secrets. And it like
Mhm.
is something that I like, for as humorous and sort of zany as the dungeon scenes are in the novel, I think they're like equally kind of like heartbreaking. And like it is like, I guess, like a task that I like take seriously, to like
Mhm.
behold something about this person that like no one else gets to see, and to like make that space for them to like carve out this like fantasy world where like different rules apply, and like the thing that brings them shame in their everyday life here in this like fantasy world that, only exists for 1 hour, this thing that brings them shame like now brings them like release or
Mhm.
ecstasy, or, I think it's different. It's very different from person to person, like what people seek out from like a dom. It can be, like more straightforwardly how we understand BDSM. Like, they want like the power dynamic, they want to be submissive because in their everyday life they have to be dominant, so they want to like experience like the like bliss of surrender. Or, they just have very specific sexual fetishes like feet in like holy stockings, and for
Nice.
whatever reason they're like ashamed to ask for it from their partners, or they don't have a partner, and so it's sort of like this straightforward embodiment of a fetish. Or like
Mm.
with unsurprisingly, if you know me in my regular life, I love like cross-dresser scenes because a lot of the times it's like clients who, you know, they just like really want to feel like a beautiful woman and they like want
Yes.
to know what that feels like and they want and like it's I was telling someone else about this. It's actually like really sweet to see because like you can give like a cross-dresser client like the like most tattered, tangled, cheap ass wig and put it on their head and then put like fucking drugstore lipstick on them and they will like look in the mirror and they will be like hypnotized by themselves
Oh,
and they will like literally be like rendered speechless by like their own beauty even though like objectively they look like kind of bad like it's yeah it's and
wow, that's
I feel like
amazing.
yeah those moments I'm like and I mean, you know, I never it does feel like important to say this like and I this is something that was like important to me in the book. Is like I
Mhm.
never want to like present like this like rosy, like idealized picture of any type of labor. But
Mhm.
you know, in the world of softcore, it's sex work, like with stripping and then working as a dom. Writing about sex work in like contemporary literature, like sometimes I feel like it either veers into like cautionary tale,
Mhm.
like language, or it veers into like girl power,
Yeah.
neo like rah rah rah, like nothing bad has ever happened to me because I'm so like empowered world. And it's like obviously it's a job. So it's like there it exists in the middle where it's like there are like beautiful and like precious experiences that would never be possible with any other job. But then also like sometimes you're gonna like have a dude douche in the bathtub and fill it with poop and not tell anyone and like leave, you know, like
Oh my god.
for you know for instance or
Yeah.
you know like and there is like it's a job that comes with a certain level of risk which also depends on like your like socioeconomic status and like your privileged position in the world like definitely like not all forms of sex work are like equally dangerous but any like sort of intimate interaction with a man is always like carries like some level of risk. So it's like I want to like accurately represent that without, you know, falling prey to this sort of like
Tropes.
cautionary tale trope exactly where it's like a noir movie where it's like the main character's daughter has fallen into disrepair and she's a drug addicted prostitute. It's just like yeah, I
Hmm.
so I tried to present it like as it is.
Yeah, you absolutely did. I felt
Thanks.
it was so balanced and lovely and just honest. It felt just ringing with truthfulness. It was never pushing for, like you said, one trope or another. It felt
Yeah.
like it was coming from a wise perspective.
Thanks.
And I love getting to hear how, I don't know, your personal experience went into it. Like you mentioned, you feel honored oftentimes to be a secret keeper, and that's how I felt about Ruth. It kind of, I think it went through to Ruth that like because
Yeah.
I felt really moved by her. The way she would talk about her clients was just really fresh.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, so that's so cool to hear. My gosh.
Thanks.
So let's go to our next segment.
Okay.
This is Charmed by Craft. In this segment, we get crunchy about the mechanics of narrative storytelling in your novel, Softcore.
Okay, cool.
I loved everything about your novel.
Thank you.
The craft it was so cool. It had such a lovely balance between literary and just enough plot to pull us through. But
Thanks.
one of my favorite things was your use of the little notes that Ruth started finding
Oh, yeah.
these yeah, these messages, and you're one like the reader starts to wonder who was leaving these messages for her. She finds notes in her locker at the strip club. She finds
Yeah.
notes on her car and in other places. Where did the idea come from to have this thread of notes guiding her through the story?
So, like on the like nitty-gritty like mechanics of storytelling, in the first draft that I sent to my agent, the main critique that I was getting from her and from like other like early readers was that there were these like little plot points, like the notes was a big one, and Emmeline, the like new girl at the strip club, and Dino's disappearance, and Nobody, the suicide fetishist that she starts like having like a pen pal relationship with. The feedback was like, you have all these little threads and they are hinting at some sort of reveal or like a mystery being resolved. And in the early
Mm.
draft, they don't really come together. They kind of just like hint at some sort of climactic resolution, but they like don't get there. So in the second draft, I put a lot of work into figuring out how they fit together. And it is just, I've accepted this about myself. Like, I am like a vibes writer rather than like a plot writer. And as a reader too, like all I really care about is vibes and like atmosphere and being like immersed in a world, and like plot is like not so terribly important to me. So if readers can't believe it, the first draft was even less like plot heavy. And so the second draft was all about using the notes to tie to sort of like, it was like, I guess, like a puzzle. And it's like, oh, we have all the pieces and we're figuring out like how they fit together, and when they fit together, like what is the overall image. And it was like an important and kind of difficult balance to strike, because also as a reader, like I actually like hate when everything is tied up really neatly in the end. Like I love like, Chris Kraus and Maggie Nelson and like these sort of plots that like are allowed to wander but eventually
Mm.
to land. And so
Yes.
like the second draft was like making everything come together and land in a way that was satisfying to the reader, but also at the same time still had an ending that was like not neatly tied up, and had like a lot of like breathing room and like room for interpretation. And actually, like I think a really amazing piece of writing advice that I was given for when you're writing something with like a more ambiguous ending, or an ending where like there's multiple different interpretations, was like, you as the writer should have what you personally think happened, even while making room for the possibility that other people will think, have different interpretations and think different things
Mm.
happened. But you should have like your one like pet theory, like your one like chosen ending in your mind,
Yeah.
and write sort of around it.
Mm.
And that actually was like amazing advice that like helped me be like, oh, okay, so if that's what really happened, then this is what the notes mean.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I'm obviously we can't spoil anything,
I
but
know,
I
right?
want you to tell me what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna need to ask you about that.
yeah.
That is so cool. I
Thanks.
really loved how you tied everything together with the
Yeah,
notes in the end. Like
yeah,
it felt open-ended, but it felt resolved in
yeah.
an emotional sense, which I
Yeah.
just thought was so poignant.
Well, because like I feel like if as writers, like we're trying to capture the feeling of being alive, like in
Yeah.
books and like in life, like and in relationships, and certainly in love, nothing is ever like neatly tied up. Like there's
Yeah.
no like, and then they lived happily ever after, and there was never any conflict ever again. As a reader, I always feel like it's actually sort of like cheapens, as you said, like the emotional like impact of the novel and the characters, to have everything be like really neatly tied up, rather than allowing for like the ambiguity and like the uncertainty that like defines like being alive. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, uncertainty is synonymous with being alive, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And certainly with love, like, and it is,
Yes. Oh my
yeah,
goodness. That ain't that the truth?
literally, right? It's like what makes it unbearable.
Yes, right. Thank you for sharing all of that. That's so cool. Let's go to our next segment
Okay.
called Food for Thought. In this segment, we try your favorite fuel for writing and discuss how you've built your unique creative practice. So, Brittany, what are we drinking today?
We're drinking a really unique and unheard of drink called Topo Chico.
Topo
Yeah.
Chico! Cheers.
Cheers. Clink.
I made a clink noise. Oh yeah, the special. If you've never had a Topo Chico before, you do need a bottle opener. So I have one of these. Maybe you can hear it. Is this ASMR now?
Maybe if you had like long nails, like
The bottle cap fell into my bra.
oh, perfect for safekeeping.
Yes, there we go. Okay, so I love Topo Chico because it really reminds me of when I lived in the mission for a little bit. Well, my partner lived in the mission, and then I stayed with him a lot.
Yeah,
We would just get Topo Chico a lot and burritos.
yeah.
I haven't had it since living in San Francisco, so I'm gonna.
Oh, really? Oh, good. Well,
Yeah,
that's perfect because the book is so much about San
I
Francisco.
know. Oh, that was the best part for
Yeah.
me.
Oh, I
I'm
love
gonna.
that.
This is the running bit I'm doing, so I'm gonna try this drink.
I feel like of all the bubbly waters, it's the most like spicy.
Mm.
Like I like how it kind of hurts.
Okay, right when you said that.
Yeah, it kind of like hurts
It's
like the roof of your mouth.
it's so bubbly, it's crunchy.
It's like painful and I love it. It like wakes me up.
So, what does your typical writing day look like?
Oh, that's a nice question. I rail against the propaganda that you have to be like a morning person to be a writer. I am not and will never be. So I wake up around 10 and then I love morning TV because I like take like about an hour to actually wake up because I'm like a very sleepy person. So I like slowly come to consciousness and watch TV and drink my coffee. And then I go to one of the two like public pools in San Francisco, either
Ooh.
Mission pool or the Garfield pool. Both are in the Mission. And swim with all the grannies at about like 2 p.m.
Yes.
I drag my ass and actually get there. So I'll swim for like 30 minutes and then walk to the Ruby, which is this shared writer space in the
Ooh.
Mission that has been like so vital to my like productivity as a writer because I cannot write at my house. Like
Mm.
my house is for like flopping and playing and goofing off. And I think like for me, like a huge part of my like creative routine is like tricking myself into feeling like it's a real job because like
Mm.
the like fucked up nature of like being a fiction writer is you have to write like
Mhm.
the entire thing first, like without
Yeah.
any promise, unless you have like, you know, a 2 book deal and you're writing the second one. But like 90% of fiction writers are writing with just like the hopes that by the time the whole thing is done, then you can sell it. I have to like trick myself that it's like a real job. So a
Mhm.
huge part of that is going to like my office, which is the Ruby, which is, as I said, like shared workspace for writers. And so usually I get to the Ruby around like 3 and I always sit on the couch, will lay down. I also like to like be lying down while I write and like have my laptop on my lap. And then I will usually write from 3 to 7. 4 hours is like that's good. That's
Yeah.
a good day. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. But then eventually I like my brain turns off, usually around like 8. Yeah, and then I do whatever else I'm doing for the evening. But I do hit a wall and I'm just like the brain is turned off and now it's either like time for fun or time for like dissociating in bed.
Totally. Oh, I love hearing about how, yeah, the home is for flopping. And so
Right?
you have to trick yourself to go to the office. That is such a good idea. I've been trying to make use of my local libraries
Yeah.
lately for that reason, and it's
Yeah.
been really helpful.
And I will also add that like the days that you don't write are still days that you are working. That
Mm.
makes sense.
Hmm.
It's kind of cheesy, I guess, to say, but also like going on a walk or going to a party, all of it is like part of your practice and your craft as a writer
Mm.
who is trying to like channel the world, you know, like boil it down into some sort of feeling or vibe or essence. You have to like go
Hmm.
out and like do things.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Such good reminders. Well, thank you so much for sharing your creative practice. I
Yeah,
love it. So inspiring.
thanks.
Let's go to our next segment. This segment is called Build a Story with Brittany Newell.
Oh, yeah.
In this segment, we play a low stakes, improvised story game with an opening sentence submitted by readers of the Books and Banter newsletter. We'll say a sentence back and forth to complete a quick, zany narrative.
Cool.
This sentence was submitted by Cooley. Thank you. I'll say Cooley's brilliant sentence and then we'll go back and forth.
Okay.
She heard something rustle in the wind, but when she looked around, she was as alone as she was lonely.
She hadn't yet told anyone about the strange items the crows had been leaving on her doorstep.
The first item the crow left was a gold locket, but the second one was a blood-stained knife.
She had taken to sleeping with both items under her pillow, much to the dismay of the housekeeper.
One day, when the housekeeper was changing her sheets, she heard a tapping on the window and saw a crow just before she could discover the knife and the locket.
Moving forward, she decided to be more careful about where she stored her gifts from the crow. She didn't know how exactly she knew this, but it felt imperative that nobody find out what the crow was delivering her and why.
The next morning, when she was feeling particularly lonely, the crow came through the window she left open and left a third gift.
Neatly arrayed on her pillow was a full set of human teeth. The crow sat on the pillow looking at her expectantly, and it seemed to her a bit proudly.
At first, she awoke with a start, but then when she saw the crow bob his head a few times, as if to say hello and show her the collection of teeth, she reached her hand out.
She turned the teeth over in her hands, examining them, and noticed with a jolt that one of the teeth had her ex boyfriend's signature tooth gem on it. The crow blinked and smiled at her, seeing her recognize this.
I was literally gonna do tooth gems.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a good ending, though.
Yeah, I was about to
Right?
say, it's like you said earlier, leaving it a little ambiguous. Is it the
Mhm.
crow? Is it her
Oh,
ex-boyfriend? Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for doing a fun story with
Yeah,
me.
that's like good brain exercise.
So let's go to our next segment. Show us your books. In this segment, you'll show us 3 books you'd save in a fire.
I don't know where they are right now, so
Or
I'll just
tell us,
tell
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Tell us about
Um,
3 books you'd save in a fire.
Definitely the first one that comes to mind is Times Square Red, Times Square Blue by Samuel Delany, which is one of my favorite books. Samuel Delany is, if people don't know, is like a insanely prolific gay science fiction writer who's most
Oh.
famous for his science fiction. But Times Square Red, Times Square Blue is a book comprised of 2 essays. And the first essay, Times Square Red, is this sort of like lyrical essay describing all of the different encounters he had in the porno theaters of pre gentrification Times Square. And so it's this sort of like impressionistic memoir of like all the different like freaks that he met there and this brief but meaningful sexual exchanges that he had in the porno theaters, which were playing straight porn but had been like reclaimed as this sort of cruising ground. And then the second essay is a more properly academic essay about like gentrification and like how
Mm.
gentrification impacts like community building, obviously like contrasted by like the community that he had described
Right.
in the first essay.
Oh, that's so smart. I love that
And
idea.
it's just so fun and it's so like beautiful and it's so much about the love of cities and the things that can happen in
Mm.
cities because people are like forced to be close together and sort of rub up against each other like figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
So I would save that and I would save Aliens and Anorexia by Chris Kraus, which is definitely my favorite Chris Kraus book. And oh my god, what would be the last one? Honestly, probably kind of like a generic answer, but I'd probably save like my extremely battered and well-loved copy of White Noise by Don DeLillo.
Oh,
I just
cool.
anytime I'm in a book slump, I just like reread White Noise, and it's to me just like an absolutely like perfect novel. And it's
Wow.
so it just always feels so contemporary, even though it's not. And rereading it during
Mm.
the pandemic was like especially interesting because it's about like an airborne toxic event. Yeah, I fucking love that book so much. It's the only Don DeLillo book I've ever liked, actually. And I fucking adore it.
Wow. Okay. My reading list just got so much bigger and I'm really
Yeah,
excited. I can't believe
yeah.
I haven't read any of these. They sound amazing. I have one final question. How do you hope people will be transformed when reading your novel, Softcore?
I I hope that it's a very, like, atmospheric reading experience for them, like, I hope that maybe more so than being transformed, I hope that they're, like, transported by it, like,
Mm,
I really believe in, like, the importance of fantasy, like, not in the
mhm,
sense of, like, sci-fi fantasy, but just, like, in the sense of other worlds and the
mm.
ways that we need fantasy to make reality bearable, and
Yeah.
yeah, I hope that they feel transported into, like, this sexual underground that Ruth is journeying through and transported into Ruth's mind and what it's like to be, like, 27 and in love, and yeah, I hope it takes them into, like, a world that feels complete.
Mm, yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your art and
Yeah,
wisdom on the
thanks for
books.
reading.
Yes, on the Books and Banter podcast today. Before I let you go, what are you working on next and where can we follow you?
Oh, well, you can
Mhm.
follow me on Instagram at fraudage_industry. And I'm working on my next novel. It's called Blue Movie, and it's about a love
Mm.
addict named Beatrice who finds herself caught between an emotional vampire and a cannibal fetishist.
Oh my gosh, I'm already pre-ordering.
Yay!
Let's go.
Yeah, I gotta sell it first. But yeah, I have like 50,000 words so far, so I'm like coming up on like a finished rough draft.
Mhm. Oh, that's so exciting. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining. I really appreciate it. You're amazing.
Thank you. And I have to go now, but I'd love like some book recommendations for you
Oh
from you because I'm in a book slump and I need
my
someone who like
gosh.
loves reading
Yes.
to like hook me
Oh,
up.
I got you.
Yay.
Okay.
I'm
Go.
sorry that I have to dart off. I have to go kick someone in the balls.
Yeah.